so much, Jessica, again for joining us today. So why don't you just share a brief description of your education background and your current professional experience? So thank you so much. So over to you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica. I have been working full-time as a data analyst for about 3 years now. And I've got my undergrad degree at Miami University in Ohio in business analytics. And right now I am still doing data analytical work, but it's more on a consulting kind. So what kind of project that we get, I'm the person who I'm part of the team that are having the role of solving the problem. So right now I am not only working as a data analytics, but also as a part-time MBA student. And yes, that's it.
Great. Thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing your background. So you're doing both MBA and your data analyst job at the same time. How easy or how difficult is it to manage both things, and how do you do it?
It's actually not really hard because my MBA courses, we have concentrations. The course is not only about the MBA management courses, but also I have a concentration on business analytics. So a lot of my courses are data-driven, data scientist, machine learning related. So it's actually helping my work. And my work is also helping me to see what other problems I need to solve. And that's actually helping back to my study. So it's actually, for my scenario, it's not hard at all. It's helping each other, and it's actually making my life easier than before I have the school.
That is great. Awesome. Okay, so what's the role of a data scientist? Sorry, data analyst. What's the role of a data analyst?
Okay. So my data analytics role, actually, it depends on what kind of project that I'm doing. So think back on what kind of project I've had before. I've had projects, for example, is to analysis web page traffic. That's a very great example. For that project, I am looking back to the website has a cookie first. So I am looking back to the data that is collected by the cookie, and we see what kind of people are logging into our website, what kind of people are more likely to be a return customer versus just they visit us one time and then leave. What kind of people, is there more men or is there more women to join a website? What kind of region having more people interested in that? So all those kind of information I had to analysis in the data and clean the data, make some insight out of it, and then present it to make it like a very readable and clear visualization and put it on a dashboard or report so that the people who's actually making decisions can make some great decisions based on the information I provide. So that is one of the projects that I've worked on. Another great example about my project is there was also another one that my team was supporting the sales team, which I will leave some confidential information here. But what we actually did is we support the sales team who needs to provide the pricing quote for customer on a very fast basis. So that analysis is like what kind of quote, about how much money you should quote for certain kind of customer. And for this kind of quote, how can we generalize a little bit, because the project was on a very fast basis. So the project later on become, how can we generalize this information to actually, can we see a pattern? This kind of customer is more likely to have about this range of pricing quote. So that makes the people's working very a bit faster than before, and knowing the patterns also helping people to make a less manual error than they used to before. So that's a two typical example of the project that I've done.
Awesome. That's really good to know. So, Jessica, when you work as a data analyst, do you just have to work by yourself or do you work with multiple teams? So, what's the typical day of a data analyst?
It's actually a combination of both. When I am analyzing the data, the analyzing part, I will work by myself. Um, because for sure, that's an analysis part and I want to be quiet, for example. Um, but after that, after I have done some analysis part already, I would really want to maybe have it talked about with a co-worker of mine. And this co-worker might be another analyst on my team. And that would be a great time for me to show him, the, hey, see, this is what I found. What do you think? So that is the collaborative part after my work. And of course, there's a very important thing to keep in mind of is that we are working in an organization, we're working in a very big company. So what is the kind of impact of our work could have to other team? So there's a kind of cross-functional area that we need to keep in mind of. So the next level of after that is that this will be this is the time that after you have, in sync with your partner, your coworkers or your analyst coworkers, that's the time that you will want to maybe talk to your manager or just schedule a meeting with the people from other groups and say, hey, this is what we found, this is what we think, and would just talk about it with other group cross-functionally. So typical day of a data analyst, I would say about 80%, 70 to 80% of the work is you're on the data. And rest of the time, most of that I would say is about, talking with the talking with your coworkers to get some insight from him and help each other and get each other on the same page. Everyone on the same page is always very important. If it's in sync, if people are out of sync, it always cause a lot of issue later on, always. And the last time is that a very small part of the time will be talking, get us to the cross-functional teams. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, that's really, really good to know. Thank you so much. And what's the fun part of your job?
The fun part is really is really the part that I found something. It's really the data is always big and messy and horrifying to look at. But as soon as every time I found something, some insightful information from the data, that makes all the effort worth it. And sometimes the data is sometimes if the project is about solving a problem, the moment that the problem is solved is very rewarding, very rewarding. The fun part, I would just say the analyzing deep diving part in general,
Mhm.
where the problem solving moment is the reward.
That's great. That's really good to know. So it's like you spend a lot of time with a lot of data, and then finally, when you get the actual result, that's the most satisfying
Yeah,
part.
yeah, it's
Great.
very great.
Okay, awesome. And what are the prerequisites to target data analyst role? So suppose if there is a student who has just graduated from school, what are the prerequisites to get that entry level position?
Um, the ground rule, the foundation of everything is that you need to have a solid data analysis ability. SQL is the important of the most important. SQL, everyone knows SQL. So right now, if you want to get a job or be good at your job, SQL, you need to be better than most of the people in SQL. So that's the foundation of everything. And if you get that part done, I would say that analytical thinking is always very good. Um, Throughout my time of working as a data analyst, I have found that people who, because normally you know what you're solving for, most of the time. Most of the time, if you're not working on some very very weird project, most of the time you know what you're doing, you know what your goal, you know what you're solving for. But what else can you still do? out of the requirement that was given to you, what else can you still do? If the surprising part that you can give your manager, your coworker, that sets you different. So the prerequisite, I would say that always think out of the box. After you have solid data analytical skill, those skills that taught in school, after you're solid. So after you got those part prepared. So on top of the capability part, you want to be able to think out of the box. You also want to be, for example, maybe be able to, good at communication. So when you're interviewing for a job, it is possible, actually probable, that the person interviewing you might not know it's not like not know, but it's not as technical as you are, probably, possibly. In this case, can you explain what you just done in a very simple languages? Especially after you got onto your work, after you got a job, is even more important than when you are in an interview. Because after you got on a job, the people working around you will very be in other departments, other industries. So in this case, can you let a complete outsider understand what you've done in your data? Let an 8-year-old understand what you've done in your data is also a very important ability that I strongly encourage everyone to practice on. Thank you.
That's really good to know. Awesome. Perfect. So what's the career path of a data analyst? For like, what's the entry level position and where can your career lead up to? Like, what are the next roles or what type of promotions do people get?
The first part, a lot of the roles right now, the first part I would say, it actually depends on, it really depends on where you are, what your first job is, and that will give you different directions. For example, now everyone is having a data analysis job. Some people, the work, it really depends on the company. Some company, if you can analyze data based on Excel, because Excel also can do a lot of powerful things. If you can analyze on Excel and bring to Power Query, Power Pivot, and have some of the analysis in other places like Tableau, then you're a data analyst already. In this part of the work, if you can, fulfill your requirements, do a great job, and then on top of that, do something that that your manager didn't expect it and surprise them, then the most possible promotion out of this might be a lead, your lead of the project, especially after you've been senior already, the lead of the project. And after that, it really depends on where the people want to go. Do you want to go on more technical position? Technical position, it will be, you can, in most of the school right now, if you're looking for data analyst work, then most of the school, I am thinking that you already know, they already teach machine learning data scientist. So if you're already on the lead part, then, and you want to go to more technical direction, then utilize your machine learning and data scientist skill set and go through that, become a data scientist. On the other hand, if you're better at talking, better than communication and leadership, then be a manager. Right now, there's a big gap on the workforce between the data people, the technical people, and the business people. So if you already know technical part, and then you're also very good at talking, good at leadership, then being a manager will really take you a long way, because you will be the person that, that can really consolidate the data and the business part well, which is a very lacking resources from what I think in the job market right now. So it depends on what you want.
Mm-hmm. So no, I totally agree with you that having both technical and the management skills at the same time, that's definitely a very, very rare combination. So, and it's also good to know that for data analysts in the data science industry, there's also an opportunity to go on the management side. Otherwise, I've seen most of the candidates, they think, oh, that they are a part of data technical team, and they have to continue in that particular direction only. So that's good to know. Thank you so much. Cool. So my next question is, uh, what's the best job search strategy for data analyst position? These days, there is a lot of competition in the market, right, for job positions. Uh, but at the same time, I understand that there are a lot of opportunities too, right? So what, according to you, is the best job search strategy for both the entry level and other positions in the data science industry?
I will say actually go from joining. There's a lot of meetups, for example, conferences, events out there. Go attend those places. That's when you get to know people. Knowing people right now is highly, I think, more important. Yeah, I'll say that more important than just send out your resume like 100 resume a day. I would really strongly recommend that you build your network. And this building network is actually for entry level or someone who's just graduated from college, it might sound scary, sound hard, like something that the school um, maybe didn't teach as much, but it's actually fine because everyone is looking for network too. So going to all those conferences, events, and get to know people, and then reach out to them on LinkedIn, look for mentorship, look for guidance, and then after that, say that, hey, this is my resume. If there's any opportunities in your company, would you keep me in consideration? That's actually a very great way to get you some solid interview, especially if you already connected, especially if you created a relationship with that person will help you a lot from the inside. Yeah.
So when nothing is working, do networking.
Yes, I strongly recommend networking rather than send resume everywhere.
Yep, sure. Thank you so much. And Jessica, what are the 3 tips to make your resume stand out for data analyst position?
Um, First of all, on the first section, be very clear what you're looking for. This is the places that I think is the very important part. And then I have seen a few resumes of my my schoolmates who's graduating as a data scientist. I feel like right now a lot of people already have some great project. So if you don't have any great projects to put on your resume, definitely go to Kaggle, do some Kaggle competitions, and just get some freelance projects online, which is a lot of places they offer those. So get your technical part very, very strong on your resume. And so I've already talked the first part, the be specific about what you want. So that's the first tip. And then be very strong about the technical project experiences. Even if you don't have any work experiences, the project that you have done at school is also very important. And thirdly, I would say get some other activities on the resumes as well, because people because that kind of soft ability will take you a long way. And while I was talking about the technical part, I want to stress that make sure you put a lot of numbers on it. Don't just describe what you have done, how awesome it is, but actually put a solid number. What kind of data did you, that's a description. What kind of data did you work on? How big is the size of data did you work on? And those kind of numbers, quantitative numbers, it really gives the people some idea of what you did, and it's really going to help you.
Thank you so much. And I think this advice is not only applicable for data analyst position, but for every other like candidate. For example, if I talk about consulting, it's always good to see numbers on your resume, things in the quantifiable format rather than just describing them at the very high level. So I totally agree with you. I got the same advice when I was in school a couple of years back. So thank you so much for that. Okay, so my next question is, what's the interview format of data analyst position? I mean, how many rounds are there in a particular interview? Are those all technical or the behavioral?
It's actually both combined. I haven't had any interview recently. I heard they changed a lot, but from what I heard, based on what I heard from the people around me who is taking interviews recently, it's a combination of both technical and behavioral. For technical, they're going to give you some problems. Depends on the company. Some of them will have you take home and then a bigger problem, have you take home, solve it, and then send it back to them. Some people, they will have you have a live interview where they are monitoring your screen and give you a problem, you solve it while they are watching you. And behavioral questions also is definitely still there. For example, they could definitely ask you. There are people definitely asking you, tell me about experiences that you're solving a problem that you're very proud of. Tell me about a project that you're really proud of yourself, the result. So this kind of questions also are still there. In terms of how many round there is, it really depends on the company. On average, there is about 3 to 4. I would say three. Um, Phone interview of the recruiters, that's for one. And then based on that, it will be the actual hiring manager and then the person who either you are working for in the future or working with in the future. Some other company, of course, have a few more rounds, but basically the structure is by these three people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And what are the 5 most common interview questions for data analyst position?
Um, it really depends on the project. For example, for my interview when I had before, there's how to say a question about let me tell about what kind of experiences I have. So that's a very common one. You're definitely going to be asked about that, and tell me about a project that you have done before. That's either you solved a problem or you have you made a very big impact, or you really want to share with us. So tell me about your project is also very common. And also in terms of the technical problem, depends on the company, but a lot of company test. I think a lot of company right now test SQL because that's very essential. So one experience I had when I was looking for a opportunity before is that manager was asking, I have this kind of information. It's a very broad information. I have some customer information, some shipping information, some sales information. Now you design a database for me. You design an ER diagram for me, and then you write a SQL code to get me this and this kind of information. So this is a data analytical work about how you wanna design this. This is how they can test you on SQL. Other than that, of course, they can give you some just questions they get from the lead code, and you solve the problem based on whatever they are asking you.
Mhm. Thank you so much. That's very helpful. And Jessica, like, what are the best resources or the books to prepare for data analyst interview, uh, like for data analyst positions interview?
I would say definitely look online. The lead code one, that's a very good resources for practice your coding skill. And other than that, I would say go do a lot of research and practice on Kaggle. That will give you a lot of experiences on how to work with the data, major side of data. And I will also say that definitely practice your Excel skill, because even if you are Even if you're learning all those kind of other tools at school, in the job market, Excel is still a very important skill that everyone is learning.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And one more question, Jessica, that I really want to know is what are the challenges associated with data analyst position? I remember you told at the beginning that sometimes the data is very crappy. But apart from the data, what are the other major challenges that you have seen as a data analyst in this position?
This challenge actually is, I think, is a challenge not only for data analysts, but a lot of the technical roles. Is that you are trying to solve a problem. What if the problem is you find out it is unrealistic, for example, or your result is not what the people would expect it. For example, you are right now analyzing some sales data. You're analyzing some sales data for last fiscal year, Q4, and people are thinking that, okay, for last fiscal year, Q4, we did this and this and that. We did all those kind of great businesses, and that department told me they made that breakthrough. So we should did a very great job, right? And so they're expecting some numbers, but your analyzed result showing you it is different from what people are expecting. In this kind of scenario, what should you do? That's a very big challenge. It doesn't happen a lot, but when that happens, that's definitely a challenge. So a lot of that's the part that why I was stressing on the communication skill in the beginning, being able to communicate what you have done, why did you receive this result, and what this result could mean, and talk about your result, make sure that the whole room understands you is challenge number one. And then they actually become on the same boat with you after you explain it to them. That's the challenge number two. So it's not only about the technical challenge that you face basically every day. That's the problem solving part. But after you've done the problem solving, the talking part is another challenge that everyone should overcome.
Perfect. That is very helpful. And Jessica, what are the 3 things the candidate should consider while selecting an employer for data analyst position?
Okay, so definitely know what you want. A lot of people right now, a lot of company right now, they are saying that they are looking for data analytical, looking for a data analyst, but the actual work that is required by the company might be not the same as what you're looking for. For example, you at school have already learned machine learning, data scientist, you have used MATLAB, you used SPSS, all those kind of fancy tools. But at the job market, at the job that you're wishing to hiring you, is actually just Excel and Tableau. It'd be more than enough for them because software is also expensive. So now a lot of companies use so many software. So at this kind of point, understand what you want. Are you okay with doing something that is not challenging enough for you? Are you okay with having a job that you might make you feel bored if you are the person who like to solve problems? Are you okay with that? If you're okay with that, then it's not a problem. If you're not, then you might want to take a longer time to look. That's the first thing. The second thing is, especially when you're at the later round of the interview, when you are asking the question to the person who's interviewing you, because the later part of the interview is very possible that you're interviewing someone who you'll be directly working with in the future. So the personality part is really important for here. Say that if you will click with this person, because that person is also looking the same as you. After everyone has passed the minimum technical requirement, after that is all about the personality and if you will like each other. So this, I always think that this should be a two-way street. It shouldn't be only them interviewing you, but you should also see if you like that person as well, or very well. And the third thing I would say is think about your personal life versus the company policy in that you're working for. This will not really necessarily apply with the recent grad students, but if it is useful for the future, then maybe you will have some personal thing that might come up. So if this is the kind of the scenario, then definitely be picky and look for the company that have flexible working hours. They have work from home policy. So this is just one example, but what I mean is that also apply your personal need and to the company policy, not only on the working hour side, but in general, to see that in order to find a company that actually is working for you as well. So you're happy working there. Yeah.
Yes, that is really, really good to know. Awesome. And Jessica, you told about that people prepare for a lot of fancy technologies like machine learning, AI, right? And then ultimately they may need to work only on Excel, right? So
Yeah.
what are the 3 or 4 most important technologies or the tools that you would recommend
Okay.
candidates to know before they apply for data analyst position?
Okay, so I've already know that you have to be good at SQL. That's for sure. Even if you be hired on a position that don't need to use SQL, but still no SQL. And Excel is a number 2. Excel, almost all the companies do that, but a lot of the school, like some students that I talked to recently, they are so good at data scientist algorithms and tools, but the Excel part, the school actually didn't teach much. It's just a person that I've talked to, so doesn't apply to everyone out there. But be careful about that. Excel is still a very, very popular tool that you're definitely gonna see people are using it. So be prepared for that. And thirdly, I would say Tableau and Power BI, these 2 tools. I would say definitely get familiar with Power BI, because Power BI is doing a lot of the things that Power BI is the same visualization tool that Tableau can do, but Power BI is free. And I mean just the desktop version. The desktop version Power BI is free, but the Tableau is still like around $3,000 per user. So it's a trend that is that I see was starting now, that some people start to switch from Tableau to Power BI, even though there's still a lot of companies still using Power BI. But this is something that you might want to know. If you know Tableau already, get familiar, be equally good on Power BI as well, so you're prepared if the trend is actually going onto that direction in the future. Yeah.
That is good to know. And I didn't know that Tableau costs $3,000 a year. That's super expensive. Right?
Yeah, it's quite pricey.
Mm-hmm. And so finally, Jessica, like we're almost at the end of our interview. And so here's my last question. So what advice do you have for aspiring data analysts to be successful in their career?
Be passionate, be happy, be happy. Some people, if you just go to work looking for earn a paycheck, then you're not going anywhere. If you get a promotion, it's very possible that you just because you've been there for 3 years. Everyone been 3 years have had a promotion. So don't be one of those people. Be passionate of what you do. When you get a piece of data, don't just think that you're analyzing this piece of data. Change of your mindset, thinking that I'm making an impact for my team. I'm making a difference to the project. Like, change it to that kind of mindset. It gives you a lot more sense of have a lot more feeling about you're on a mission. So that's a very important thing to have, because after that you'll have enthusiastic in your work, and it will affect the people around you. It will make you work faster. It will let you find things that your manager didn't tell you to do. Manager tell you A and B, but you have done C, D, E, you know. And if you have that done, then you're a superstar of your team. You're better than the people that might be competing with what you are working on. So definitely be the happy person. Be the happy person at your workplace. And that would be a very great way to help you succeed in your career.
Thank you so much. I would say that is one of the best advice I've ever heard. So definitely being happy, that's the first thing in the life. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Jessica, for all your advice, sharing your experience and insights for data analyst position. I'm sure this is very, very helpful for all other data analyst aspirants. So thank you so much again for your time, and we really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you so much. Hope they are helpful. Thank you.
Definitely. Thanks everyone for joining us today evening. You'll have this video recording soon on the High Counselor platform. Thanks for joining today. Thank you everyone. Thanks Jessica again.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.